Hello folks, I hope that you're having just a great day today and keeping yourself safe in our modern COVID world today. To take another look at Robert W. Chambers and his collection, The King in Yellow, that he self-published in 1895, which has 5 horror short stories in it that were heavily influential in things like the Cthulhu mythos and other places too. For example, The King in Yellow is a main character in the 80s series The Lords of Dusk by Lawrence Watt Evans, published by Del Rey, which is fantasy. The characters, the main concepts are in a lot of different things, and we're going to take a look at one of these concepts in the story that we're reviewing for you today in The Court of the Dragon. In The Court of the Dragon is an 11-page short story in this collection that I have for you. I'll link you both to this collection on if I can find it on Amazon, so you can read it in actual paper if that's something that you like doing like I do. I'll also link you to it online for free, since 1895 stuff is obviously by its copyright date and is no longer a copyright held, so I'll find you a free copy somewhere. So in case you just don't want to spend the money, you just want to check it out, or you want to read it during work or something like that, no judgments here. But anyway, I'll go ahead and link you to it in The Court of the Dragon. In The Court of the Dragon is very, very good. It brings into it some of the key things that Robert W. Chambers was doing in the stories that he published. Now, Robert W. Chambers, once again, was this huge published guy. I mean, he would publish like 2 books a year. He was the Stephen King of his era, although he knew that he was not writing things that would stand the test of time. He was just writing for the tastes of the day for about 40 years, from the late 1800s to the early 1920s and 30s. And he wrote this short story collection in 1895, which is much more than you would have expected from the guy. It's his pièce de résistance. It's his lasting thing. It's the only thing that his name is known for in history. There are no Robert W. Chambers experts. There's no Robert E. Chambers lore. There's none of that sort of thing, right? But this collection of 5 short stories is still read today. And one of those reasons is The King in Yellow. The King in Yellow is a play that is in this collection. And in this collection, characters who read The King in Yellow bad things happen to them. It is a book, it is a text that if you read it, it has some dark, it will bring you some things in reality. Dark things will happen to you, and some things like that are not going to be things that are going to be friendly, at least to the people that encounter them. This first will happen in the first story in the collection, The Yellow Sign, which does a pretty deep diving into The King in Yellow. Another thing that Chambers does is he's a big fan of Ambrose Bierce, and he brings some of the things that happen in Ambrose Bierce's works, and he makes them. He brings those elements into these stories. So, for example, in The Court of the Dragon, he mentions Lake Hali and Carcosa, which are both mentioned in An Inhabitant of Carcosa. They're also mentioned in the Lake Hali, for example, is actually a place in the Cthulhu mythos. H.P. Lovecraft did the same thing that Robert Chambers did, a generation before. So you can see a lot of things that Lovecraft does. He brings in Hester from Ambrose Bierce, just like Chambers brought Ambrose Bierce in Inhabitant of Carcosa. He brings in the character Hester from Hide of the Shepherd. He's bringing in characters, and he's doing that too. And also the idea of this eldritch tome, which if you read it will affect you in a very, very bad thing, as you realize some of the realities of that are actually happening, is also a key part of the mythos, specifically the first book of the mythos, the Necronomicon, which Lovecraft's going to write again in The Hound in 1922, where he introduces this dark eldritch text that if you read it, you're going to realize that some of the things that are actually happening in our world, you're going to go crazy. And Robert Chambers introduces that in this story with the main concept of The King in Yellow, and you're going to see these concepts in The Court of the Dragon. So let's kind of give you a quick synopsis of In the Court of the Dragon, and I really do enjoy this story. It's about it's the shortest story of the collection. It took me about 15-20 minutes to read it when I was at the mall earlier today. I was visiting the local mall, Arundel Mills, has a movie. I saw The Wolf Walkers. It's an animated film. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a total fine FYI. If you're interested in checking it out, I recommend it. But anyway, I read it while I was at the mall. I wanted to knock out a few more stories in the Robert Chambers collection, take a deep dive into it. I've done my favorite one in this, but this is the second time now I've read this story after reading the whole collection through in one day. And so I went back and so I'm knocking out some other stories for it in order to give you a better sort of feel for Chambers. So in this story, we're going to open up in a church in Paris. It's a Catholic church. We're watching a Monsignor walk in. He's being played in by some music. Our main character is in this church. He has arrived. We're going to have a couple of paragraphs that are going to describe for us the church itself proper and what's happening and the beauty of the music that's being played. And we're going to get a feel for the procession that's happening as the ceremonies begin at this Catholic church on Sunday. And then what's going to wind up happening is that about one page into the story, the music is going to take on a very discordant feel. And our main character is going to be like, I don't understand that. We're also going to have the main character starting to think about maybe the church is haunted or something like that after this discordant music starts to hit him. And it feels weird that they have this discordant music from the organist. It doesn't feel like the normal music that they would have. But our protagonist doesn't see any of the other people in the church reacting to the music like he would be. So it's kind of jarring to him, but he lets it go. Then the organist leaves and he sees this foul, dark face to him. He's a dark figure with a white hat and white complexion. And he leaves out one of the side doors. And then the guy, our Monsignor, starts to speak, and it's a very odd speaking that he's doing. It doesn't really line up with sort of the texts of the Bible itself. And again, nobody sees to notice. He also sees the organist come back in playing another song. How did he get back in? This is weird. The organist leaves after this second bit of discordant music that feels really wrong to him, and and then he sees the person take a look at him, and he has a look of pure hatred, and he's also a face that he just does not recognize at all, but it's dark and nasty. And he needed a piece of solace because he read The King in Yellow 3 days ago, and since then he's been hard to sleep and been hard of soul, and so he's been weary of body and weary of mind, and so he's been looking for a place of solace, and this place that this church has typically been his best place to go to when he's been in a place of solace. But now he feels like somebody is trying to catch up with him. So he's going to try to escape the church. And try to escape the church and move on. So what's going to end up happening? Is he going to escape the church? Who's the person? What's happening with the music? How does these things connect with The King in Yellow? And you can go ahead and read for yourself if you're interested in following along with the story in the Court of the Dragon, set in Paris. It's a contemporary story, roughly 1895, which starts in this Saint Bishop's Cathedral there in Paris. So there you are. I do think this is very, very well written. It grabs your attention. It's got a lot of strong detail and writing into it. When Robert Chambers is writing about something that he cares about, i.e. The King in Yellow, he is a very strong writer indeed. He's got all the tools. And when he wants to actually get over himself and write a good story, the dude can write. And I will go to the go to the mattresses for this guy because this guy is a good writer. He's just a strong guy, and I think this story is a strong 9 out of 10, and it's just incredibly well done. And so again, I recommend it to you. Again, it's in the Court of the Dragon. It was published in 1895, and The King in Yellow and it's self-published by Robert Chambers. And if you have have you read it? What did you think about it? Did you agree or disagree with anything that we talked about in my video? I would be happy to engage you with it further in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please feel encouraged to hit that subscribe button because there's going to be so many more of these to follow. And finally, hey, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day and watching my video. We all have so many things happening in our lives, right? So the fact that you spent this time with me is so humbling, and I really appreciate it. So thanks again, and have a great day.